Hello, good evening and welcome to News at 10 on TV3. We're also live on 3FM 92.7. I'm Stephen Ante. We're broadcasting from the News Hub at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. And you can get interactive with us on Facebook, on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. Let's begin with the day's major news highlights. The Tema Metropolitan Assembly is the highest ranked district in this year's Ghana's District League table. The Assembly returned to the top spot for the second time after being deposed of its foremost slot by La Nkwantanang Madina in 2016. However, Karachi East in the Volta region dropped from 206th in the 2016 ranking to the last position in this year's ranking. And the Bono Ahafo region is likely to be divided into three if petitioners are able to make a strong case. Two petitioners are seeking for the creation of Bono East and Ahafo regions in addition to the current Bono Ahafo region. And Health Minister Kwaku Agyeman-Manu says government will only take action on the report of the Central Medical Stores fire if the forensic audit yet to be conducted by the Auditor General is completed. Kwaku Agyeman-Manu said the outcome will set the tone for the ministry to deal with any culprits in the accident. And on the international front, the International Monetary Fund is warning Zimbabwe about the current state of their economy. They want the country to consider immediately seeking support from the IMF to resuscitate their economy. Those are our major news highlights. Remember, you can get interactive with us. We're live on Facebook and on 3news.com, and you can hear us on 3FM 92.7. Up next is the big one. Welcome back. Now, almost 3 years after the Central Medical Stores at Tema in the Greater Accra region, which held the country's medical supplies, went down in flames, no one has been prosecuted, although investigations pointed to arson. About $80 million worth of medicines were burnt into ashes in 2015. The Minister of Health, Kwaku Agyeman-Manu, says the report was without forensic audit, hence the delay in implementing it.
Is now sourcing funds for the construction of the Central Medical Stores. Efforts are very well advanced. The CMS fire investigation report has been submitted to the Auditor General upon his request. I think we were talking too much about Central Medical Stores. Where is the report? Why are we not responding? So the Auditor General called for a copy of the report. And as we speak, he is finalizing due processes to conduct a forensic audit of the report, and when that is completed, he will advise and make recommendations, and that is what government, I believe, will have no option than to take to implement. It is put in the report that there should be a forensic audit, and therefore, without forensic audit, I don't think much could be done. So work is not completed, and I think that is how, when he got the report, he decided to go that way. But he's taking his time to do open competitive bidding to select a consultant who will do that work. And then that is causing us some little bit of delays. But I hope that soon or late that will come to conclusion.
Right, let's go on to Skype now. We're going to speak with Nana Akwada, who is the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety. He's joining us for a discussion on this Central Medical Stores. Mr. Akwada, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. And good evening.
Nice to speak to you again. Now, no one has been prosecuted in this Central Medical Stores fire, and now the minister is telling us that this is as a result of the lack of an audit investigation into this, so they are unable to implement some of the recommendations. How does this sound to you?
Well, first of all, let me situate the argument very well for your viewers. As it stands, we are looking at a criminal prosecution for, a case of arson. It's important that we apply ourselves very well as a state, seeking to lay the axe exactly where it has to be. Since January 26, 2016, that we were told or were informed by the then minister that, a forensic audit was supposed to go into, just for us to appreciate the extent of, if you like, for want of a better word, rot that has engulfed the surrounded the Central Medical Stores fire. Largely, the state has failed to, put its money where its mouth is. And to the extent that the donor community is constantly breathing hot air on the back of the state, we have not discharged ourselves effectively and efficiently in this regard. We have not, if you like, taken steps to secure or assure the public of safety. If we decide to look at this thing in the light of public safety, it's important that we for want of a better word, we get government to do what it has to do in order to secure, support coming from the donor communities to aid, public health in Ghana.
Yeah, right. Mr. Akwada, when you say that we have not discharged ourselves appropriately, I reckon that it begins the discussion on who to blame. And you do know that our democratic systems have been continuous blame games. So who should be taking the blame for this? Which agency should have been responsible for conducting the audit into these fires in the first place?
Well, the national security had done its bit by conducting the earlier investigation and has established, if you like the lawyers will put it, a prima facie, case against some 12 members of the Ghana Health Service. The Auditor General, whom National Security was then tasked again to take it up from there, to just let us appreciate the scale of, procurement irregularities, the depth of thievery, if you want to call it, at the Central Medical Stores, just to enable prosecution, in which case is the Attorney General's Department, to press charges, appropriate charges against these persons, to the extent that 1 year on, after the citizenry were informed of such action, that nothing has been done. I think that we need to lay blame squarely and fairly at the feet of the state. By the state, I mean the then government. We should as well, of course, give some recognition and a little bit of breather for the incoming administration. It's true that governance is a continuum.
I can understand
that
But
powers
Mr.
that
Koda, I
be
mean, typically,
have.
this is a governance process. So if there was a problem in the previous administration, it's a responsibility of this government to fix it. But I need to hear from you whether in all of this, you really think that we need the forensic audit to make any difference at all, because this is becoming embarrassing. As you mentioned earlier, donors, the United Kingdom and the United States, are all complaining about this, and this could have a rippling effect on them, perhaps at some point making a decision to withdraw support. So do we need a forensic audit in order to do anything at all or take action on what happened?
Well, I am unable to tell if we need a forensic audit until we appreciate the kind of charges the government wants to press against these 12 members. If we want to press charges that will extract some very high sanctions against these persons, then we would need a forensic audit, because you agree with me that this is a criminal case. Arson is a case of crime. Procurement irregularities are a case of crime. Pure thievery is a case of crime. And if you want to press charges against these 12 individuals, circumstantial evidence alone is not enough. You need to get some more evidence. And in some cases, we may require a forensic audit. Our worry, however, is why it should take close to 12 months for us to be hearing this also from the incoming administration. I think that is a perennial problem with our democracy, that moving forward, we need to get the institutions of state to actually be up and doing on some of these instances. There is no doubt that this will affect donor support for the health sector. There is no doubt that we will not be getting the right kind of recommendation within the donor community. But it has happened, and as a nation, we need to pick up the pieces that are left and do due diligence to this case. For just once and for all, let's draw the curtains on this, prosecute some people, and let the donor community see that we indeed will frown on, what they have taken their taxpayers' money to provide to us, because, as it were, we are a country that needs support.
Right, Mr. Koda, we're grateful. But before you go, tell me, what's the position of the Bureau of Public Safety on this medical stores fire?
We have called for the investigation report to be made public. I believe that if this report was made public, institutions like yours and other media institutions would have been the ones to be breathing hot air on the neck of the government to do what it must do. But largely because this report is sitting in the bosom of government, none of us know exactly what the detailed recommendations were. And therefore, it was difficult for us to, mount some pressure on it to discharge itself appropriately. In the coming days, we will be publishing the June 3rd disaster report. It will blow your mind, the things that are sitting in there, which once again the state is, either not, taking actions to solve it, or is largely sleeping on the job. And that is the case with many other accidents or incidents that have occurred in the country. In the coming days, I believe that maybe latest by Sunday, we should be making this report public for the media and the entire public to appreciate how government is paying lip service to citizenry and how we are actually inflicting some of these, accidents on our own selves, just doing ourselves no good by keeping these things to ourselves. Elsewhere in other jurisdictions, these things are made public. The state even goes the next step of making animations out of these incidents for the public to, appreciate it and to contribute their best in, corrective measures and avoiding recurrence, prosecuting who they have to prosecute. And so we think that the government is still not too late. It should publish the findings of the National Security and the Fire Service, whatever they found, the full report so we can appreciate and begin to ask the necessary or the relevant questions.
Mr. Kwada, we're grateful for your time. Thank you extremely. Nana Kwada is Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety. And I'm Stephen Enti. You're watching us live on TV3 and listening to us on 3FM 92.7 as well. We're streaming live on the internet at 3news.com and on our Facebook page. We'll be right back with more news. Welcome back. Now, Ghana and Denmark have resolved to strengthen ties in the areas of trade and investment. Receiving the King of Denmark at the Flagstaff House, President Akufo-Addo pledged to work toward improving relations to create increased business opportunities.
Ghana and Denmark have enjoyed strong commercial ties over the years, and the visit of the Queen is expected to further deepen the already existing relations.
That is really where we are now. We want as much as possible to develop good trade and investment relations with our partners. That's increasingly the focus of Ghanaian policy, is to accentuate the economic partnership, businessmen getting together, investing in our country, and those who can also investing in Denmark. Why not? Your presence here focuses attention, yes, on both our side and on your side, as to what the possibilities are, what can happen in Ghana. And I'm particularly appreciative. I believe it's the first time ever in the history of our country that a Danish monarch.
The visit will also be used to mark Ghana's gradual transition from aid to trade.
Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo has pledged to create the platform to promote effective private investment opportunities for Danish businesses in the country. The president was speaking at a state dinner in honor of the Danish Queen in Accra.
The ties of friendship and cooperation between our two countries have grown stronger. Relations have been very cordial and on the basis of shared values and common beliefs. In the spirit of partnership, the Danish government has begun to reorient the focus of its engagement with Ghana to concentrate more on enhancing trade and investment. We believe that the basis for cooperation must now go beyond aid and be anchored on trade and investment. To that end, the new strategy for Ghana-Denmark cooperation aims to shift from development cooperation to trade, investment, and political cooperation based on shared values, such as support for open markets and the promotion of human rights.
Ghana's resilient democratic structures, respect for human rights, a free press, and the rule of law set an important example for the region. The unambiguous support of the Ghanaian people to democracy is a cause for great optimism on your nation's behalf. For many years, our relations have been centered on development cooperation, in which we are long-standing partners and have worked together for the advancement of Ghana. Through our cooperation on health, water and sanitation, good governance and the development of the private sector, we have forged a trusted partnership which today not only covers development cooperation, but also political cooperation on a broad range of issues to which our two nations attach great importance.
And staff of Ankafo Psychiatric Hospital have rejected the apology by the medical director of the hospital, Dr. Eugene Dodoe. According to them, this is not the first time Dr. Dodoe has apologized, a situation they say gives them reason to question the genuineness of the apology rendered. A leader of the aggrieved Ankafo staff, Malcolm Ali, spoke in an earlier telephone interview.
Would you accept his apology?
No, we will not accept this apology, and this is not the first time he's apologizing. He made an attempt to apologize when we met the regional minister on the 10th of November 2017. There was also an attempt to apologize when the committee brought the report on the 17th of November 2017. We are not accepting any apology. Why do you? It's very funny. Mental Health Authority is machinizing all these gimmicks. I mean, how do we accuse somebody, for human rights violation, conflict of interest, and corruption, and you're saying that the person should come and apologize? Where on this earth? We haven't seen it before. The person is breaking us psychologically. We are breaking down. We are emotionally traumatized. We cannot work. We don't have sound mind to work with. If they really wanted an apology, and I'm telling Mental Health Authority, if they really want this man to apologize, they would have done it long time ago.
And the Child Protection Social Drive campaign has been launched in Accra with a call on all Ghanaians to support in ending all forms of abuse against children. The campaign is a collaboration between the Ministries of Gender, Education, local government and other partners.
Millions of children worldwide experience the worst kinds of rights violations. Millions more children, not yet victims, are inadequately protected. Most children in Ghana are not an exception, as they are abused, neglected, exploited, among others. Though several efforts have been made to ensure the protection of the Ghanaian child, enforcement has rather been on the low side. This has called for more effective and comprehensive way of ensuring the protection of the children in Ghana. The Child Protection Social Drive in Ghana is one that the Gender Ministry and its partners are assembling Ghanaians to demonstrate their commitment to stopping all abuses against children. The Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Otiko Afisa Jagber, expressed worry about the current challenges of a Ghanaian child. She indicated Ghana 60 years on must see a total shift from child abuse.
You cannot steal the soul of a child by abusing that child. You don't have the right to abuse any child. You're stealing their destiny away from them. We have to rise up to the occasion and unite as Ghanaians against child abuse. We cannot continue to pay lip service because of the enormous distraction and the fact that it takes away from the person who will be tomorrow's leader.
Launching the campaign, wife of the Vice President Samira Bawumia noted there was no explanation to child abuse and called on all stakeholders to make issues that affect children their priority.
Care for its children is no nation at all. As a country who have attained middle income status and wanting to do even more for its people, the practices that undermine the survival, development and protection of our children should be addressed with all the seriousness it deserves. While condemning the violations against children, I would like to reaffirm the government's unflinching commitment to supporting efforts at reducing all forms of child abuse cases in this country.
Local Government Minister Haji Alima Mahama noted with dismay the abuses children in Ghana go through and expressed delight about the campaign. Deputy Education Minister in charge of basic schools expressed her ministry's support for the campaign. In her statement, country representative of UNICEF, Rishan Mutaza, regretted the increasing statistics of child abuse in the country and expressed UNICEF's excitement towards this drive.
I'm sure you will agree that we cannot keep silent anymore. The time has come for us to face the reality. In Ghana, more than 90% of children have experienced some form of physical violence. Together, let's find a way to bring an end to child abuse.
Other partners also spoke to support the campaign against child abuse.
And that's how we wrap up with News at 10. Thank you very much for making time. I'm Stephen Anti on behalf of the crew. Good night. And there is more news at 3news.com.